need Emily, and you have to able me.
I have make host, but not make co-host on you, Beth. Let me see. There we go. You should be able to share now.
Yep, there it goes. Okay.
Oh, perfect.
All right.
So we have our grand old flag. We can start by reciting the pledge if everyone's ready. I know you can't
Yep.
see it, Terry, but it's there.
I've got a flag right here, so.
Perfect.
And I
Okay.
know Dad does too.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
To
to the flag
of the
of
United
the
States
United
of America,
States.
America and to the
to the
republic,
republic for
Republic
which it stands,
and
stands
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
with the
justice for all.
injustice for
just
all.
for all.
All right.
Okay, so if you don't mind, Dawn, would you take the roll?
Sure. Harold Kramer,
Here,
Kathy Nankin,
here.
Terry Graham,
Here,
Delina DeSena,
Here.
Jody Heritage,
Here.
Todd Dixon,
Here.
Beth Crowley,
Here.
Emily Verstig.
Here.
That's everybody.
Okay,
we have a quorum.
Yes.
Shoot.
excellent. Okay, so if we want, we can start by taking a peek at the minutes from February, since we did not have a March, right? Is that right? Yeah, we did not have a
Yeah.
March or
March
April
meeting.
meeting. So we need to take a look at February's minutes. And if there are any corrections or omissions, if somebody could just bring them up. If not, if somebody wants to go ahead, we'll give everybody a couple minutes. And then if somebody wants to make a motion to accept them, if there aren't any corrections.
I move to accept the minutes of February 24th.
I second the motion.
All in
I
favor?
abstained because I wasn't, Terry Graham, I abstained because I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so then the meeting minutes from February will stand as they are.
Thank you.
The next item that we usually do is the budget, which I know, Terry, you probably don't have anything. But
Well, I'm thinking if it was the same as in the February, it would be $645 in the treasury.
That should be still the same.
That was from the last meeting of that you had in February, because I have the minutes here.
I was
Okay,
going to say, what a good memory, Terry.
No, I have them here.
okay. The next item that we have on our agenda is it my report or communications?
Communications.
I wasn't able to print it. Okay. So Kathy, I thought while you're there, and I'm looking at your face, I thought that your comments to Beth were very good
Oh, thank you.
on the last virtual meeting that you and Harold attended. I don't know if anybody else was able to attend that. I was not, but I thought the comments were very good.
Well, Beth did an excellent, excellent job in the presentation, and it was nice to see that David Borrowy, being the new member back on the council, has always been so supportive of the library. So even though we lost Patty Flynn, we have another support in David Borrowy. And it just sounded like
That's good.
everyone had a lot of very positive comments to make about your presentation, Beth, from the council and the budget meeting there.
Thank you. Yes.
when will you have some idea of what your budget is actually going to be?
I'm not sure. When we get to my report, I'll go over that a little bit, but I don't really have a date yet.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other communications that they received, by email or in any form?
The only thing I saw, and it was a brief article in the online record journal, is that the Wallingford Library, when they do reopen, they have quite a number of staff that actually will be losing their job. I don't think they're going to be bringing them back. And it looks like the Yalesville Public Library, that really cute little library right on 68, is finally going to get closed permanently, which I thought was just very sad.
Oh,
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've
But
laid
I
off
just-
about 23 or 25, 24 of their circulation staff. They have quite a few more part-time people than we do. Actually, they
Right.
have a much bigger staff than we do. Overall, it's about 75 people. But I know they laid off it was mostly in their circulation department.
Yeah. And
I-
it sounded back then that they were not going to be rehiring. Was that your understanding too, Beth?
I'm
that what
not
you heard?
sure. I'm not sure if that's going to be
Yeah.
permanent or if they'll come back when they reopen.
Yeah.
There's been, maybe you know more about this than I do, Beth, but there's been some activities around the Southington Library as well. They're doing a new study. They've engaged an architect. They've determined that their building is inadequate.
I know they've been trying to get a new building project going for a while, even prior to the new director coming on. So that's good to hear that they're starting to get that up and running.
And
One thing that they do have that we don't have is parking. They have a
Yeah.
really good parking lot.
It makes a difference.
Yes.
okay. Are there any other communications that anybody would like to share? No?
Nope.
Okay. Sorry, like I said, I don't have our agenda in front of me. So that brings us to what now?
You.
Me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as library board, I don't have a whole heck of a lot to say. Like I said, I'm sorry I did miss the last virtual meeting. I continue to work. I've been doing a lot of work in my yard. It doesn't look it on the screen, but I do have a little bit of sunburn. So I'm enjoying being home more. I've been working evenings and working less and less. Initially was very busy and working less and less, doing case reports and contact tracing, since I actually work for Waterbury Health Department. And so that's been good. And I'm just enjoying the slower pace and the increased amount of family time instead of running around in the car, including actually attending the meeting virtually instead of running out the door after eating dinner. I have to say, it's kind of nice to just
Right. Yes.
and cuddle up and say hello. So one of the things that is added to our agenda tonight that we have talked about, and now it's been a few months, is it's time to elect officers again. And that was on the agenda that Beth did send out on, I believe it was like last Monday, a week ago.
Oh.
So that's, no? You
No,
didn't?
I didn't
Somebody
see
didn't
that
see?
on there. I was
Yeah,
gonna ask if we should add it under new business.
Yeah, it should be added. Either, I don't know if it's new business or old business, but either way. It should be on there.
did you want me to put the agenda on the screen, Galena?
You can if you want. I'd rather look at everybody's faces. I have it actually open. I just didn't want to minimize the faces and be looking at that instead. So I really don't have any report. But yeah, Harold, if you want to, you can put it up. It's up to you.
I don't know if it's going to tell us much.
No.
No.
It's kind of our standard format.
But my printer is not working. I've tried cleaning the heads. I've tried doing everything and it's just not working. So I think I'm in the market for a new
February.
one. Okay, so next item up after that would be what then? Beth?
Library
Library
Director's
Director.
report.
Okay, which was emailed out. I did review it quickly. I don't know if everybody else saw it or not.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
yes.
All right, Beth, then over to you.
All right, so I'll go through. So as you know, as you already mentioned, I presented the library budget. We did present the budget as originally proposed by the town manager prior to the COVID crisis happening. So while it was well received, the directive does sound like it. The town council is hoping for a 0% mill rate, a 0 mill rate increase, which will result in additional cuts. So I have yet to hear back from the town manager as to how that will impact the library specifically. But once I do, then, he and I will have some discussions about what we'll do for that. And then I'll certainly let you know what we're facing for cuts to the library. For fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020, we are projecting about $5,700 in savings from our non-salary line. A lot of that is our professional development. The annual conference was canceled, mileage, some advertising and printing costs that we won't be expending, a little bit of supplies. And then $33,853.97 was from salary lines. Early after the shutdown, actually starting April 1st, we did furlough our 6 library pages. So that is where that salary savings comes from. And then we're also projecting a small loss in revenue. We're really not a revenue, driving agency as a library, but we do make a little bit of money through fines and fees and things like when people make copies or print things out, fax. So we're looking at about a loss of $4,800 for this year. So since we closed to the public on March 23rd, or actually, I'm sorry, we closed to the public on March 13th, but staff then worked for about a couple weeks in the building. And then once the executive order came out to stay home, we sent staff home with approved work plans. And I did give Sean a couple weeks ago a progress report of what everybody's been working on, which is about 5 pages long. Everybody's been very busy. They're putting in their regular hours per week. And if they're taking any time off, they are attributing that to paid time off, whatever leave it would apply, but they're working their full jobs. Some of them are assisting the senior center with the calls that they're making. And we have 3 people doing that. And it's coming out to about 1,500 calls that they're working off of a list. We've done even more programming since the budget presentation. So I've updated those numbers, 48 virtual programs, and those have been viewed by 1,289 participants. We've created over a dozen YouTube instructional videos. Definitely check out our YouTube page. They're really, really cute videos, very well done. And in fact, I heard our green screen video just got picked up by, is it Do Inc, Emily? That is the company that is mentioned in that video. So that's kind of cool. Let's see. We have had 60 new online library card registrations since March 13th, which is a lot of online cards. We've always had that ability, but not a lot of people took advantage of it, but now they have definitely been doing so. We had 6,153 downloads of digital books since March 23rd and today. And Ancestry.com, I don't know if you ever used it when it was available in the library, but it was only available to come into the library to use. That was the restriction set by the vendor. But once COVID happened, they allowed libraries to actually provide access remotely. So we have had 7,820 searches on Ancestry in the last 3 months. And normally it's only about 500 searches a month. So that's,
Wow.
it's gonna be
That's a
bad.
big difference.
Yeah, it'll be too bad when they take that away. Because I think that's something people would really love to use. We've had 970 views of the new Acorn TV. So if you like the BBC, it's through our RB Digital app. So go into there, you can check out a license that lets you watch as many TV shows for a week, and then you just renew the license every week. So that we've had a lot of views on that, and 144 views of our new Great Courses content. And then our unique visits to the website have doubled compared to last year at this time, and the online newsletter opens have tripled over the same time as last year. So this is how people are communicating with us. And I think staff has been very engaged not only with the online content, but also helping people virtually. I know we did virtual tech help, but we've also done it over the phone, through email. So we are interacting with residents every day as we're working. And the buildings and grounds, as Harold sent pictures a little while ago of the cranes. So the roof project should be done by the end of the month. The 9 air handling units were all replaced and the roof was repaired. And then by the end of this week, the LED lighting upgrade should be completed. So it was really nice to have those 2 major projects done while we were closed. That was a bit of a silver lining for us. They were able to do it much more quickly than if we had been in the building. So the next thing that we're looking at is reopening. And I know a lot of people are probably wondering, when are libraries gonna reopen? Right now, libraries are not listed in any of the governor's reopening descriptions. I am working with CLA and the state library to get us on their agenda. We've been trying, the state librarian, Ken, who had retired, has been trying to get libraries at least on the agenda of the reopening task force for some considerations. But as of right now, I've submitted a phased reopening plan to the town manager, and it is based on the state library's reopening guidelines. And I certainly would want to also coordinate with the health district and of course the town as to making sure that whatever we're doing is safe. But I do feel the first phase will be some sort of contactless pickup of materials and returning of materials. So we are looking, we have a group of employees who are working on that plan right now on how that will roll out. But I'm still waiting for direction from Sean as to any kind of dates or timelines or things. I know that they have had plexiglass shields manufactured for all of our service desks. So those will be going in, and you know, there's a lot of other considerations. And Delana, I would be interested in your input in any you know, things we should be thinking about, or your thoughts on, you know, eventually opening to the public and what that might need to look like to be safe for everybody. And then finally, as you know, before all this happened, right before, I feel like this is the last normal thing I did. 4 staff members and I attended the Public Library Association conference in Nashville, Tennessee, courtesy of the generosity of the Friends of Cheshire Library. They pay for out-of-state professional development for us, so that was great. And right now, some of the staff are working on customer service and programming initiatives based on sessions that they attended at the conference. So I know there's a customer service manual that's being worked on as a group with all different levels of employees participating. So that's been good. I mentioned that I'm working with the state library on the reopening task force initiatives. And on Monday, June 1st, I'll be presenting a virtual program, which would have been an in-person program at the annual conference, which had to be canceled, of course, but now they've converted the annual conference to a virtual one. So I'll be doing that. And then Maureen Sullivan has been named the interim state librarian until a new candidate can be found. She's a phenomenal library professional. I attended her twice. I attended the New England Library Leadership Symposium that she facilitated. And she's one of my mentors, an amazing person. And she's also a Connecticut resident and has moved back to Connecticut. She was living in Maryland, I believe, for a while. So she'll be running the state library for the next 6 months while they restart the search for a new state librarian. And that's kind of where we're at.
So I would like to comment on thoughts that I have regarding safety with reopening. Just as a bullet point, if you want to just kind of list them. My first concern would be materials coming back to the library. I know that's going to be contactless, but those should be handled wearing gloves, and they should somehow be wiped down in some way because they'll be traveling in people's hands in cars and then going into the intake box. And they may have just been in somebody's hands, you know, not necessarily been sitting there for a while. I have been to a few doctor appointments since this has started, and some of the other things that come to mind are, in addition to library staff having gloves and some way to disinfect physical materials coming back, they should have masks. People should be wearing masks in the library. They should have access to hand sanitizer, the touchless one. Everybody should be doing that when they walk into the library and when they walk out of the library. There should be multiple stations of that. In addition, the furniture is going to have to be reconfigured to prevent people from sitting too close. So I don't know if there's a storage area or in the library itself where a lot of the furniture will have to be removed, or if not, I've seen in other offices where they've taken actual, like say packing tape, clear packing tape, and made like an X over every other chair and put a little sticky in the middle of it just to help make it more visible. You know, it's obviously a touchy subject, but some people are very good with following the guidelines and other people are not. For example, sitting today waiting, my son was having physical therapy, the place just reopened. Somebody sitting, you know, far enough away from me, but took his mask down to speak on the phone, proceeded to start coughing. And I kind of had to give him a gentle reminder that everybody's supposed to be wearing a mask while you're in the waiting room. And you can certainly talk on a phone through a mask, which is another thing when I go to work, and I think the staff should be doing this when they come into the library. Basically, whether you have Clorox wipes or you have a bleach solution, like a 10% spray bottle and paper towels, everybody's work surfaces, to include keyboards and phones, should be wiped down. And people really should do it before leaving too. That way it's getting done, and also before and after eating. In addition to washing hands, you're just constantly cleaning your work surface, desk, keyboard, phone in particular, anything that comes to your face. Cell phones are probably very dirty objects. So in addition to people cleaning their hands, they should be cleaning their cell phones. So just in my house, we have a little Tupperware with cotton balls that we have rubbing alcohol pulled over, so that when you're cleaning your hands, you should periodically also clean the screen and, you know, front and side of your cell phone, because then that's going right up to your face. And wherever you set that down, those germs are there. Those are the things that come to mind right now. I'm sure everybody else will have some other thoughts, but, you know, if I think of something else, I'll certainly share it with you, Beth.
That would be helpful. One of my big concerns is the public restrooms
Mhm.
and not being able to keep those clean enough throughout the day, and you know what that would require.
So I think like the handle going in and out of the restroom, even though it's a push door, as I recall, I'm not sure, because I know you have a cleaning service that comes in the evenings. So I'm not sure who would be there during the day, but basically the doors to the stalls, the faucets should be getting wiped down, almost like when you go to Costco and you see them spray the conveyor belt really well every so many people. Those things should be getting wiped down a lot more often than they have been in the past.
Right. The other thing that we're considering doing with the books, now a lot of our books are, I would consider them non-porous surfaces on the outside. They have the plastic covers, so following those guidelines. The paper obviously is a little bit different on the inside. We're going to have a process of quarantining books for, I'm now hearing some libraries are talking about a week. So they'd come into the book drop, someone would have gloves and PPE on to take them from the book drop to the Mary Baldwin room, put them on carts, and then mark the carts so we know. And originally I was thinking 72 hours for that cart of books, and then they'd get checked in. So rather than trying to wipe them all down and use a lot of wipes and things, to just go with time. I don't know what you think about that.
I think I'd probably do a combination. It doesn't take a lot to wipe the outside down. I mean, obviously you'd have to make sure people aren't using too strong of bleach. Like for example, a Clorox wipe can go a long way if you do have some kind of sink or basin or something with that 10% bleach solution in it that you're dipping it in and just gently wiping and drying it with.
Okay.
I think I probably would feel most comfortable with the outsides being wiped down, but then again, you're not going to do anything with the pages inside And I think the 72 hours is probably sufficient, but if you wanted to err on the side of caution and go up to the week, then I think that should be okay. But
Could
it's
you talk to Maura Esposito at the Chesprocott? Would she have any suggestions?
Yes, that's part of my plan. When I submitted the plan to Sean last week, and I haven't gotten feedback yet. I'm sure he's still, reviewing all the department's plans, which I'm sure is a pretty onerous job. But then to have that conversation about how we would start this process, because I think there's going to have to be just time for us to get everything in place that we will need to prior, to even being able to do the curbside pickup function, just to make sure we know and everybody's safe, and we have a good scheduling of how, a scheduling staff so that they're also safe working with each other. And we may have to have scheduled staggered shifts. I've got to still look at all of how that will work.
Beth, is there a limited number of people? How are you looking at, the quantity of people that'll be in the library at one time? And do you use both entrances? And
yeah, I was thinking of actually closing the Main Street exit. You can still get out from the inside, but not to allow people in, so that we're only monitoring one entrance. Of course, anything that we do is going to depend on where we are in the regulations of what people have to do. So, depending on when we are able to let the public into the building, are we still under an order to wear masks? Are we under a restriction for the number of people that can gather? Are we under a capacity restriction? So assuming that those things are true, then someone will need to be at the front door making sure people are wearing masks when they come in. We plan to have, if we have enough masks that we could offer to somebody if they forgot theirs, so that they wouldn't be denied access. And then, we'd have to count, we're planning in the beginning, if we have to limit capacity, to also limit really the length of time that people will stay in the library. So again, like to what you were saying before, Delaney, about the furniture, it really won't be a come and sit and read and sit on the computers for any length of time. It'll be kind of a come in, it'll be much more like a retail model than a library typically is. Basically get your materials, maybe print out something you needed to print out, use a computer for 15, 20 minutes, but it'll be pretty much in and out sort of thing, so we can manage that. I'm not anticipating in-person programming probably until the fall, if then, based on how many crowds we can have. We did try to space chairs out in the Mary Baldwin room right before we closed to the public to see what that would look like at 6 feet distancing, and we really can't have more than 20 people in a program. So it really limits what we can do.
Yeah.
I had a comment or two. First of all, I'd like to, if it's okay with Delina, note in the minutes that Delina is a healthcare professional when you were giving us all that advice.
Yeah.
That should be noted.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to just go back to Beth's report, which I thought was excellent. And I think the library is doing a great job in providing all this interactive material and books and video. I have downloaded more books in the last couple of weeks than I ever did previously. And I also had the great courses for 7 days and then renewed it for another 7 days. So I think the service that you're providing during this is really exemplary.
Thank you. It's been fun to be creative, honestly. I mean, I see a number of silver linings in what we've done. We've wanted to do some of the videos in particular for a little bit, and this sort of forced us to jump into it. I have to say, though, the staff that I have is phenomenal. The work and the bravery that they've shown to get, within a week of being closed to the public, my children's staff was ready to get on and do story times. And I was actually really nervous about having them do that. But they were brave and they did it, and they've done a great job. So I just have been really, really impressed with the quality of the staff. They've all learned new things. Their skill levels have increased. So that's been great. My skill level has increased for doing a lot of this virtual technology. And I think that there's some applications going forward, even after this crisis, winds down and we can get back to more of a normal library setting to continue to do some of these programs and certainly some of the downloadable services that we've offered. So
Have there
And
been peop-
probably that way you can reach more people too.
Yeah.
Some of the programs get filled up really quickly, especially with the children's programs. If you had some things that were offered online, maybe, you could include more people.
That's right. And people that work or parents that work that can't come to the traditional story times, we've had requests for that. So I think that might be a way we could look at going in the future.
When you do reopen, will, in the children's library, because I know, when Sarah takes Lily there, Lily's 6, but she still loves to all the different things that are there, the computers for the kids, and of course, all the play areas. Will you be changing the access to that at all? Because would be, I think, very hard to constantly be wiping down for the
Yeah.
kids.
I think so, especially in the beginning. I think, again, it's that kind of not encouraging the staying in the library. And, the longer you're there, the longer there's a potential to be exposed. It would be really difficult to try to keep toys clean or, the shared objects from being shared among children. It's really, you couldn't really do that very effectively. And I think we would be a little worried about that. I'm a little concerned with, respiratory droplets, like they're heavier than air. So eventually they're going to make their way down to those lower regions of the floor where the children are, and I worry about that. So, and I'm not sure I don't believe children under 5 can wear masks. So I'm not sure, how that will work with them being in there. The other issue is teenagers who are unaccompanied, who normally would come in unaccompanied, but they usually come in groups. And they, I'd be concerned about their safety with, being able to social distance. So these are all things that are definitely, consideration. I think in the beginning, it'll be very limited public use just to keep people as safe as possible while we're still, in the crisis and it hasn't started to go down yet.
And that
Yeah,
may
I
be
think the
something-
children are going to be the hardest thing. It's the same, I think that's where the problems are going to come when they try to open schools also. It's going to be the same type thing. Because they are like little germ factories because they share so much with each other.
Dishes, yes.
Beth, is there a cleaning rotation by the town? Have they talked about, the spraying of buildings and just everything, how does that impact the library? What do they have in store for your building?
I don't know what changes they'll make to the traditional rotation. I haven't heard. I'm hoping that there would be more, that would be part of it, that they would be coming in more often. They contract with a cleaning company, but I don't know what their plan is for that. I think, for the commonly touched surfaces, the idea will be for staff to be cleaning those in between uses of patrons and certainly each other. But as far as, the overall, like the bigger cleaning, I'm not sure.
I think, the other thing to keep in mind is that with the public health departments following the rise and fall of people who are contracting the virus, there are going to be different guidelines that are going to need to be followed. So we may go back into opening things up and relaxing some of the guidelines. And then if, say, there's another uptick in people contracting the virus, we may be then scaling back and going into more rigid constraints. So I think that's something that we need to expect and prepare for. It's going to be very fluid as this evolves. It's not going to be just all one direction back to normal. I think it's going to be a little bit forward and backward.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Well, I think people are going to be a little nervous too about going and they may open things, but people may not show up right away either because they're kind of a little nervous about what should they do, what shouldn't they do. So I think you're going to have some of that too. everything probably won't go right back to what, what it used to be. People are just a little, nervous about things.
True.
Do we want to move on to our unfinished business and new business?
Yeah, I know that we had talked about the elections right before, I think at the February meeting.
Mhm.
So I guess that actually comes under unfinished business, but if we still have to have a virtual meeting for June, why do we not, or if we could actually get together, why don't we do the elections in June?
Okay,
We should
Okay.
have had them like last month, but obviously
Right.
we could not. But if everyone's agreeable, I certainly can make a motion, that we hold our elections at the next, meeting of the library board, whether it's in person or virtual.
Yeah,
I
I don't have a problem. I don't think there are any special considerations for virtual meeting voting. I've been to a couple where people have
Yeah.
voted. They just either hold up their hand. Usually these things are pretty unanimous anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think
Yeah, I
the
mean,
one thing,
all right, I make that motion.
And
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Good.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
so elections will then be in June, but I think we should put forth a slate. We usually have a slate of proposed.
Right.
And that is what we never really formally got around to. We've done a lot of sideline discussions, but
Right.
so
Did
if we want to hear about who wants to be in different positions, I think I'll just go ahead and take a leap. I think we're talking about making a proposed slate of Harold Kramer being the chair.
Mhm.
Okay, we've discussed that before.
Right, that's not a
Yep.
surprise. As far as vice chair, I don't know if Jody is interested still or not. I think we did run that by her once, but it might have been several months ago at this point. And if anybody else is interested, they probably should speak up now so that we can have two people on that for that slated position. Jody, is that something you're interested in?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Don't be absent though, Harold, just telling you.
I'll try not to be.
Okay, so then does anybody else want to run for either of those two positions? Okay, if not, then that leaves treasurer and our secretary. And I don't know, Terry and Todd, how you feel about that, if you wanted to continue on in those positions?
Sure.
Thank you,
This
Terry.
is Terry.
Mhm,
That's fine.
And Todd says that's fine as well?
mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Then then you definitely all should get a raise.
Oh.
It would be a big one, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. 100% of what you're making now.
That's what I
Probably
thought.
okay, right.
Okay, so that takes care of that. That's the proposed slate of officers and we'll vote in June.
Yes.
Yeah, do we have to move that nominations are closed?
Well, we would do that at the next
Next meeting.
meeting.
Okay.
That's just the proposed slate. And then, at the
The next meeting is the
we would say
formal
this-
nomination.
Yeah.
and- Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
whole Robert's Rules thing. Yeah.
Was
And
there
then
any
guess
other-
what, Delana?
What, Kathy?
You won't be chairman anymore.
He'll be around.
Well, no, I know you will, but
It
you've
takes,
been so
it
busy,
takes a
so,
team, right?
Yes, you're not going to get off that easy, Delana.
Yeah.
Do we have any other unfinished business? Any new business?
Beth, has there been any activity on the parking lot situation?
No, right before everything kind of shut down in March, I know Jerry Sitko went over to talk to the church, but they were also just dealing with the crisis and what they were going to do with their services and everything. So we haven't heard anything else from them about a new proposal. So I need to follow back up with Jerry and see when we're going to, go back to them and see what we might be able to do.
Okay, thank you.
Has there been any controversy over the library using any part of it? Has the church complained in any way?
There's just been, well, it was due for the contract to renew. So there was a question over the amount of spaces we were using at the rental that we were paying. And they thought we were
okay.
way underpaying for the amount of spaces that we were using. So there's
Okay.
a question about that. So, looking at how the new contract might be put forward, which may include some services from the town, or, there may be some deals we can make there that they're working on.
And it's going to be a problem probably because the town is looking to cut a lot of things. So any additions are going to be difficult.
Right. Yeah. I actually moved that budget line, that expense line out of the library's budget, and it's in a budget in the town, the other part of the town budget, that's the property rental budget.
Oh, okay.
Because they have a couple of
Okay.
other properties that they lease for various reasons. So we actually moved it into that. So it's not in my budget, but it certainly would increase another part of the budget. So it would still be a concern if it was to increase too drastically.
Yeah.
The pages that were furloughed, will they be hired back when the library opens 100%?
It depends on whether that becomes part of the cuts that we have to make. If the cut is big enough and we have to look at personnel, I'm not sure what that will mean. I don't have enough information yet to decide. The original plan was that they would be brought back when the library reopened, and they were being furloughed because there wasn't work for them to be doing at home.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments regarding Beth's report or anything else we've talked about?
No, I think the report was very thorough.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think I would like to just reiterate that, Beth, you and your staff are doing a phenomenal job. As you always
Yes.
have been. You're very forward thinking, very quick to respond to the changes that were necessary, and really, truly a lifeline for the people who are stuck at home. And definitely, it does affect people's mood. And I'm really glad to hear some of the library staff is helping make those reach out calls that the senior center wanted them to. So I think all in all, you guys are doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you. And we are starting a new program, I forgot to mention, next week on Wednesday, and it'll run through June every Wednesday night. I'm working with Michelle Pigarella and Catherine Glendon. Michelle's with the Human Services Department and Kate is with Chespercott Health. And we're going to be offering a discussion group, and it's called Cope During COVID. And it's supposed to be kind of like a support group where people can just, it'll be through Zoom, they can just Zoom in and they can just talk about how they're doing. So I have,
that's excellent.
clinicians that can help, and but it's just kind of a safe place. Everybody can sort of process and reflect and maybe share some tips of how they're surviving and coping during this crisis. So I'm hoping that that'll also help with people feeling connected and not alone during this.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that are one-person households.
Right.
And, to be quarantined and not have anybody around, I imagine it's very difficult.
Yes, definitely.
And there are households without internet access as well, but
Yes.
hard to
Yeah.
serve them.
You have to come up with kind of creative ways.
Well, I really appreciate all of the support from the board, and Delana, especially your knowledge and experience, in the health field is definitely really helpful, and I'll probably be turning to you again as we finalize more of these plans. So thank you all very much for the kind words and the support. It does mean a lot to me to know I have that behind us and what we're doing.
Well, thank you, Beth.
Yes,
thank
you're
you,
doing a
Seth.
good
Thank you,
job.
Beth.
Excellent.
Thank you, Beth.
You're all
And
welcome.
Emily.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting's adjourned at 7:51. Everybody be well, and we'll look
Yes.
forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah,
Stay
I think
I-
that the new thing is be well and be sane.
Yes, yes.
Forget about safe, be safe, stay sane.
Yes. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Stay safe.